Think of someone you can't stand, someone who just irritates you by existing. The way they talk, the way they act, everything about them bothers you. Now, Ibn Arabi is about to ruin your entire perception. What if that person isn't your enemy? What if they're your teacher? Because here's what he discovered after decades of studying human nature. The things you judge most harshly in others are the exact things you're terrified of in yourself. The traits you reject, the parts you hide, the person you refuse to be. And the people who embody those traits, they're not there to annoy you. They're there to show you what you've been denying. Let that sink in for a moment. Every person who triggers you, who makes your blood boil, who you secretly wish would just disappear from your life, they're holding up a mirror. And you hate what you see, not because they're terrible, but because the reflection is uncomfortable. Because somewhere deep inside, in a place you don't want to look, you'll recognize something familiar, something you've been running from. Ibn Arabi spent years observing this pattern in people. He watched how they chose their friends, their enemies, their lovers. And he noticed something strange. The same types kept appearing. Different faces, different names, but the same energy. The same conflicts. The same disappointments. And when he asked people why they kept attracting these situations, they always had the same answer. Bad luck, wrong timing. Other people's flaws, but Ibn Arabi saw deeper. He realized that nothing in relationships is random. Every person who enters your life is reflecting something back to you. The ones you admire are showing you your own potential. The ones you love are revealing your capacity for connection. And the ones you despise, they're showing you your shadow. The parts of yourself you've disowned. The qualities you've condemned. The traits you swore you'd never embody. This is the hardest truth about human relationships. You're not reacting to them. You're reacting to yourself. Think about that person again. The one who irritates you. What specifically bothers you about them? Are they arrogant? Needy? Controlling? Passive? Loud? Attention-seeking? Whatever it is, write it down mentally. Hold it in your mind. Because that trait, that specific quality that makes you want to scream, exists somewhere in you. Maybe not in the same form. Maybe not as obviously. But it's there got, and this is where people get defensive. They say, no, not me. I'm nothing like that person. I would never act that way. I hate that behavior. And that's exactly the point. You hate it so much because you've worked so hard to suppress it in yourself. You've spent years, maybe decades, making sure you never become that. You've built your entire identity around not being that kind of person. But Ibn Arabi would tell you something uncomfortable. The energy you put into rejecting a trait is the same energy that keeps it alive in your shadow. Every time you judge someone for being too much of something, you're actually judging the part of yourself that wants to be that, but isn't allowed. Every time you criticize someone for not being enough of something, you're criticizing yourself for the same deficiency. This isn't psychology. This is how perception works. You can only recognize in others what already exists in your own consciousness. If you've never experienced anger, you can't identify it in someone else. If you've never felt fear, you wouldn't notice when someone else is afraid. Your awareness of their traits proves you have a reference point. And that reference point is inside you. But here's where it gets deeper. The people who bother you most aren't showing you who you are now. They're showing you who you're afraid of becoming, or who you used to be and desperately don't want to be again. Maybe you grew up in chaos, and now you can't stand people who are disorganized. Maybe you were once powerless, and now you resent anyone who seems weak. Maybe you were hurt by someone selfish, and now you judge anyone who prioritizes their own needs. The trigger isn't about them. It's about your unhealed relationship with that quality. Ibn Arabi called this the mirror principle. And once you see it, You can't unsee it. Every interaction becomes a revelation. Every conflict becomes information. Every person who bothers you becomes a teacher, showing you exactly where your work is. And the relationships you choose? Those mirrors too. The person you fall in love with is reflecting back qualities you want to develop in yourself. The friend you admire is showing you your own untapped potential. The mentor you seek is embodying the wisdom you already possess, but haven't claimed yet. You're drawn to people who mirror what you're becoming, not what you are. But we miss this because we're so focused on the surface. We think relationships are about compatibility, about finding someone who fits, about avoiding people who trigger us. But Ibn Arabi saw it differently. He saw relationships as assignments. Each person in your life is there to reveal something, to teach something, to mirror something you need to see. And the people you keep attracting? The same personality types showing up in different bodies? That's not coincidence. That's your unfinished business calling itself back into your life. The universe doesn't move on until you learn the lesson. It just sends you another teacher wearing a different face. This is why you can leave a toxic relationship and somehow end up in another one that feels eerily similar. Different person, same dynamic. You think you chose better this time. You think you learned. But you didn't heal the part of you that resonates with that pattern. So you called it back in. Not consciously, but energetically. Because unresolved patterns don't just disappear. They repeat until you face them. Ibn Arabi watched this happen to people their entire lives. Decades of the same complaints. The same type of boss who doesn't appreciate them. The same type of partner who doesn't see them. The same type of friend who betrays them. And every time, the person believes it's external. Bad luck, wrong people, unfair world. But it's not external. It's a mirror. And the reflection is showing you exactly what needs to heal inside you. So what do you do with this? How do you use this mirror? First, you stop running. You stop avoiding the people who trigger you. You stop pretending you're above certain behaviors. You stop believing you have nothing in common with the people you judge. Because that belief is what keeps you stuck. It keeps you in denial about your own shadow. It keeps you from integrating the parts of yourself you've rejected. Second, you get curious. When someone bothers you, instead of focusing on what's wrong with them, you ask what they're showing you about yourself. Not in a self-blaming way, but in an honest way. What quality are they embodying that you've suppressed? What need are they expressing that you've denied? What fear are they displaying that you've hidden? Third, you own it. You admit that the trait exists in you. Maybe not in the same intensity. Maybe not in the same way. But somewhere in your history, in your desires, in your shadow, it's there. And owning it doesn't mean becoming it. It means accepting that you're human, that you contain multitudes, that you're not just the nice parts you show the world. Ibn Arabi said something that sounds simple, but is actually revolutionary. He said you can't truly know yourself by looking inward alone. You need the mirror of others. Because there are parts of you that only become visible through relationship. Parts that only activate in conflict. Parts that only surface when someone pushes your buttons. This is why isolation doesn't heal you. This is why avoiding people doesn't make you more enlightened. You need the friction. You need the trigger. You need the mirror. Because that's where your shadow becomes visible. That's where your work reveals itself. And here's the twist. The people you love most are also mirrors. But instead of showing you what you reject, they show you what you value. The qualities you admire in them are qualities you possess but haven't fully claimed. The way they make you feel is how you're capable of making yourself feel. The love you have for them is a reflection of your capacity to love yourself. But we get this backwards. We think we need them to be that way so we can feel good. We make them responsible for our happiness. We cling to them because we believe they have something we don't. But Ibn Arabi would say they're not giving you anything you don't already have. They're just reflecting it back so you can see it. This changes everything about how you approach relationships. You stop looking for someone to complete you. You stop expecting people to fill your voids. You stop making others responsible for your emotional state. Because you realize they're mirrors, not sources. They can reflect your light back to you, but they can't create it. Only you can do that. And the conflicts? They're not problems to solve. They're information to receive. Every time someone triggers you, they're pointing to an unintegrated part of your psyche. Every time someone disappoints you, they're revealing an expectation you placed on them that belongs to yourself. Every time someone hurts you, they're showing you where you're still hurting yourself. This doesn't excuse bad behavior. This doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. This doesn't mean every relationship should be maintained. Sometimes the mirror shows you that you need to leave, that you've outgrown the dynamic. That staying is actually betraying yourself. But even in leaving, the mirror principle applies. Because how you leave, what you learn, whether you blame or take responsibility, that determines whether you'll repeat the pattern or evolve beyond it. That Ibn Arabi spent his life studying this. And what he found was both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it means you can't just blame other people anymore. You have to look at your part. You have to own your projections. You have to integrate your shadow. But empowering because it means you're not a victim. You're not at the mercy of who shows up in your life. You're the one creating the experience through how you perceive and respond. Every person is a mirror. Every trigger is information. Every relationship is an assignment. And the more you resist this truth, the more painful your relationships become. Because you keep fighting the reflection instead of healing the wound. But when you accept it, when you see every person as a teacher showing you yourself, everything shifts. You stop taking things personally. You stop needing people to be different. You stop waiting for the perfect relationship. Because you realize the perfect relationship is the one that shows you exactly what you need to see. Even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable, the person you can't stand is not your enemy. They're your greatest teacher. And what they're teaching you isn't about them. It's about you. About the parts you've rejected. About the qualities you've suppressed. About the wholeness you've denied. Ibn Arabi would tell you this. The goal isn't to become more selective about who you let in your life. The goal is to become more aware of what everyone is showing you. Because once you see the mirror, once you understand the reflection, you stop reacting and start learning. You stop judging and start integrating. You stop running and start healing. And maybe, just maybe, that person who irritates you so much will become the person who finally sets you free. Not by changing, but by showing you the exact thing you needed to see. The exact part of yourself you needed to reclaim. The exact truth you've been avoiding, because they were never the problem. They were always the mirror, and you've been fighting your own reflection this entire time.